Hey everyone, welcome back to Alf's Mustang Garage. Today we're back on the 289 engine rebuild, and today we are installing the intake manifold. Alright, if you haven't had a chance yet, if you want to help our channel out to produce more helpful videos, go ahead and click that subscribe button. If you find the vehicle helpful, if you find the video helpful, go ahead and give it a thumbs up, and we'll kind of move along here. So we're doing a whole complete engine rebuild in this 289 if you haven't been following along. So there's like a whole dedicated playlist for this. I can put a little card to slide across here for you. All the links and everything are in the descriptions and on the channel. So anyways, so first things first, when putting the intake manifold on, we just want to make sure everything is nice and clean and prepped on both your cylinder heads and your intake manifold as well. Okay, so to kind of do a one last wipe over of this to make sure it's free of oil or anything like that. Lint-free rags is what I use. I use lint-free rags in a lot of areas on engine rebuilding. Just I don't want to use a red rag or anything that's going to leave any kind of fibers. Even a microfiber towel I like to use lint-free. Spray it down with some brake cleaner and wipe your surfaces down. So you can see there's going to be dirt there. So we'll do that on both. The intake manifold, if you're reusing it, especially. Or if you're going new, you still want to just kind of wipe it down and make sure there's no oils or anything like that going on. So, and right here as well, you want these to be nice and clean of oil, because that's going to get a heavy bead of silicone on there to seal your oil valley there. So, okay. So that should be ready for an intake manifold. Okay, so for this particular engine, we have a set of 351 Windsor heads on here, and I just kind of wanted to point out that the coolant ports are a little different on a 351 Windsor head versus a 289 head. So these are the gaskets that just kind of came in my engine gasket kit, and I don't like the style of these gaskets. Which is why I like to get these Felpro. It has what they call the Printo seal kind of gasket, and so I like to get these anyways, but I got them for the 351 Windsor. But if you got 289 heads, you'll have to cut that out right there to just so you're not restricting a coolant passage. And the other cool thing about these cylinder heads and head gaskets is you have a little tab here on your cylinder head gasket, and your intake gasket just kind of hooks to it right there and makes it kind of nice to kind of stay in place. So anyways, just kind of wanted to point that out about the little differences on a 289 versus a 351. But so this should be ready to go. We are going to put a little bit of silicone on the bottom side here. A little bit of red around the bottom of the intake ports, just to kind of get that perfect seal so we don't have any vacuum leaks, and then a little bit of black RTV around here to make sure our coolant passages are definitely not gonna leak. Once we're ready, I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of put a small little bead. I like to use this high temp red gasket maker around the intake ports. Okay, so I have my red high temp, just a thin layer. I kind of spread it around with my finger just to kind of make sure it's like a really thin layer. I put a little thicker around the coolant ports, and I'll probably add a little bit more on the gasket itself. but I want to put a really thick bead here for my oil gasket. I don't use the cork that comes with the gasket kit. I just use the ultra black here. So we're just going to build up a nice bead here.
Oh, there's a thick bead.
Yeah, it is. Okay, so I have like a couple layers of nice thick. I make sure I come up here on the sides of the heads and just kind of really make sure that's going to seal the engine valley there. Okay, so now we can go ahead and set our gasket in place. And then on this side of the gasket, I'm just going to put another little bead on the coolant passage only. Okay, now we're ready to drop our intake manifold on. These aluminum ones are a lot less weight than the cast iron originals. But the key is to just kind of go down nice and even. This is, of course, way easier when the engine's on a stand. When it's in the car, I'll put like an engine lift plate over the carburetor mount and just drop her in nice and steady. Okay, so as I drop my bolts in, I'm just going to get a couple threads started on each bolt. We're obviously not going to tighten anything until every bolt is started. Okay, so once everything's kind of started, I'm just going to kind of run these down to like the head kind of contacts the manifold. Before I even start torquing, I'm just kind of like seating it right now. You can kind of feel it right there. You'll just kind of feel the resistance as you kind of come around. There it is. Okay, every single bolt head is kind of making contact with the manifold. So now I think we're ready for a torque wrench. So there's a sequence to this, and the sequence is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That's how to properly do it. You would probably think you start in the very middle, but you actually start on these ones, these 4 here, and then you do the 4 in the middle, and then you do the 4 on the outside. Okay. So I do this in 4 stages. I do about 8 foot-pounds first, and then 15, and then 20, and then final about 22. Okay, so now we're just going to repeat that step and bump up the torque value to 15. I do like to go nice and slow here because if you're reusing old bolts, you want to get a real good feel. Make sure they're still turning and not stretching. It feels different on that bolt when it starts stretching and actually twisting the head off. That you don't want to do. Okay, so that's your intake manifold on there. She should be good to go. Now, something to keep in mind that I talk about like a lot in other videos when it comes to like torquing down your bolts. You really want to feel it and you really want to go slow when you're starting to tighten those suckers down. The book specification on this for the final torque is 22 foot-pounds, but like you have to kind of factor in that these specifications were kind of created back in the 60s. Everything was brand new, the gaskets were different, and it's just not the same today. So you have a cylinder head that's, you know, old. If you're reusing bolts, the intake manifold's aluminum, the gasket is different. All these things kind of take effect on how tight you're actually going to get those bolts. So I was only able to get these down to 15 as far as I comfortably go, but that's why you have to like pay attention and go slow, because it starts to feel different once it's no longer tightening and the bolt is starting to twist and it's not like tightening, if that makes sense. So but it's going to be fine. Like, it's down, it's even, it's tight, and that's the whole objective, is to get it down evenly, and it's all uniform. So it should have a adequate enough seal, and yeah, you should be good. So anyways, if you found the video helpful, give it a thumbs up. It does help our channel. Subscribe if you haven't. It does help us, which helps you by making more videos. So after this, we'll get some valve covers on here, and this engine is almost done. So appreciate you being here. Catch you next time.